Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path of recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Hey, good morning, Glenn.
Hey, morning, Mikey. Let's get down to business. Let's rock some sobriety.
Oh man,
this morning.
somebody got a little caffeine in
You know what? It is starting to kick in. It's amazing what 4 cups of coffee will do. 4 16-ounce cups. Right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we got Karen with us again today.
Hey, guys.
Karen, get ready. I hope you can come up to speed.
I only have 2 16-ounce cups.
Oh, there we go. That's all right. That's all right.
But I'm going to do my best to keep up.
That's all right.
By popular demand.
I think we have to keep up with you, Karen.
Demand. Hey, a couple quick things. I want to thank those that have reached out to us and those that have sponsored us and fed that. What do we call it online? Is it a coffee?
Yeah, Coffee Kitty.
Coffee Kitty,
Same thing we call it in the rooms. Feed the Coffee Kitty. Thank you so much for everybody's support. Yeah, we have, just to kind of hit this topic, we've had quite a number of folks reach out and they would like to jump on and just share their story. And we really value that. We appreciate people, reaching out to us. It's a podcast at Sober.Coffee. And we are trying to figure out how to do that from a technology standpoint. So we are looking forward to having some external guests come on. So far, our guests have been in the studio. But we're figuring out the technology, and we look forward to incorporating some external guests from our listener base.
Yeah, and speaking of the studio, Audio Hive in Joliet, want to thank them for...
That is Chicagoland.
Yeah, Chicagoland. Joliet Jake and the boys.
For those in Pennsylvania that...
That's right. We love our Pennsylvania brothers and sisters.
I know, it's crazy. We have about 35% of our listener base come out of Illinois, Chicago, and then Pennsylvania is a close second. I know, I love it.
I guess that's where my mom lives, and her summer home must be in Pennsylvania.
No, her IP server address must be in Pennsylvania. Right. That, and then we have Canada, we have the UK, we have India, Australia, New Zealand.
Sobriety is needed all around the world.
Absolutely right. That's a good message, Mikey. Yeah. Good message.
So Karen, what do we got today?
What are we chatting about today?
What are we going to chat about?
Well, I thought maybe let's talk about... triggers.
Oh, nice.
Triggers.
How do I keep myself out of trouble?
Oh my goodness.
Nice. There's a guy in our room that says that triggers aren't real. I'm like, really?
Oh, I would.
I'm like, okay.
Well, mine are.
Yeah, mine are too.
I don't know about him, but mine are
too.
I won't speak for anyone else, but mine are definitely real. So, I was thinking after we talked about this the other day, how do I keep myself safe and how do I avoid these triggers, especially earlier in sobriety? And I think the first and foremost is that we need to remember I am responsible for my recovery. Nobody else. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I'm responsible. So it's the actions I take that are going to dictate whether or not I succeed or fail. Mm-hmm. And that's true for anything, right. Weight loss or business or life or sobriety, anything. I get rid of people in my life who don't serve a purpose anymore.
Amen.
If they can't respect healthy boundaries, every now and then we have people in our lives that once we get sober, everybody has that guy or girl. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's been so long. You could have just one. Come on, blah, blah.
Yeah, I love those people.
And they don't have to understand me and where I'm coming from, and they don't have to understand addiction or alcoholism. However, if they can't respect that I don't want anything to do with that, then there's no place for them in my life.
That seems to be a common theme. We talked about that a couple of coffees ago, and it seems to be a common theme. And so when I hear something more than once, I go, well, that must be important. And so, choosing people in my life that are going to support my new way of living, and frankly, it's a new way of living. I mean, it's out with the old, in with the new. I had to change everything. And people, you're reminding me again this morning that making sure that you're aligned with the right people is an important part of the progress.
Absolutely. Stick with the winners is what I
winners.
learned
I love
early
that.
on.
Yeah, right.
No, I was in a meeting yesterday and I was saying that they were talking about the different slogans, and someone brought up stick with the winners. And I said, when I think about it, all of my program friends, all the people that I talk to, like outside of meetings that are in the program, are people who go to meetings regularly, work the steps, have a sponsor, are involved in volunteer work. They're the winners. They're the people that have found a way to make this work by doing it as it's laid out.
And
that means we get rid of those people. You know, the hard part is but they're my friend. And when you try to clean up those people, places, and things, think about it. Was that bartender really my friend? Quote, like, was I ever invited to his house for dinner?
Yeah, right.
When I quit drinking and suddenly fell off the face of the earth, as far as he's concerned, did anyone ever notice? Yeah. No, someone slipped into my bar stool and they just kept going on with their lives.
I love that.
They never called to ask how I was. You know, do you think the drug dealer asks their
they
customer,
could care less.
Shouldn't you be saving this money for retirement?
Yeah,
no,
they could care less.
Shouldn't you be going home to your family? They don't care.
They don't care.
You're just a means
customer.
to an end,
yeah,
right?
Sure.
Yeah,
right.
you know, when I hear triggers, I had a life where everything was a trigger. I drank over everything. And then I, through sobriety, and a couple things had to happen. But I have gotten to the point, and I live day by day in my sobriety, but I have gotten to the point where I really believe, and I believe through a lot of facts, that I can get through any situation without drinking.
Absolutely.
It took me a while to figure that out. So everything was a trigger, but for me, I had to surrender. I had to surrender this program, and I said, you know what? You guys, I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do. And I've told that story before. But what that started to do was, lay the foundation for a new purpose of life. And part of my purpose is January 6th. And what January 6th says in the 24-hour book reading, the AA 24-hour thought for the day, that's it. It says, the most important thing in my life is that I don't take a drink, is my sobriety. I believe that, and I live that. Anything that threatens that, call it a trigger, call it whatever you want, it's out. I avoid it, and I can be extremely assertive about it when I need to. And part of that takes planning. Part of it, as I plan my life, I don't go to the places I used to go and drink. Mark's Bar, I don't go there anymore. I don't even get near it because I know what it does to my head. I plan my life today, and like we've talked about, I do 22 things a day, a week, a month to stay sober, and it plans around those triggers and traps. And so I think that's kind of a baseline for me, is I know what's not good for me. So that's certainly, and Karen, like you said, people, I have very few people in my life today that are not sober people. And I needed that.
I think I have a lot of people who are not sober people, but they're not alcoholic people either.
Right.
So, they're not out getting trashed every night.
They have no, like I have a group of friends I'm taking down to our Florida place next week. 5 women. There's going to be 6 women in my condo for like 5 days. And there will be a lot of partying there. But the thing that makes it okay for me, first of all, I have my meetings laid out that I will be going to. So we scheduled our beach and our tiki tour and all our stuff around me getting to a meeting in the morning. They all also understand I don't drink, and they don't.
That was my key question.
Like they would never sabotage it.
That was my key question.
Right.
Is, do they know and do they support?
Yes. 100%.
Because I've done that before.
100%.
And I'm just like, I'm not going to drink this weekend. And I wasn't honest with them. And it played mind tricks with me the whole time. And then I would end up relapsing.
Oh, no. They remind me they're really a fun group. They'll tell me.
Yep.
They'll say, it's good you don't drink anymore. Remember that one time?
Yeah.
And then they tell the stories. So if it gets to be too much for me, then I just say goodnight, girls, and I go in my room and I shut the door. So that's different than just
Boundaries.
going away with or being with people who don't get it or don't know. That's why I wouldn't travel with somebody who didn't know I was in recovery.
Sure.
Because
too dangerous.
For me to pick up a drink in front of them, they would think it's normal. They don't know better.
Right.
These friends, for example, if I even thought about opening a beer, they would be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
They would slap it out of my hand.
Right.
That's the kind of friend you want.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's where I used to fake it in those situations. I wouldn't be honest with people, and I would fake it, and every time I faked it, I failed.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? I think it reminds me that once I came into the program, and again, like you said, there's nothing more important than my sobriety. I had to not only start dealing with different people and hanging with different people, but I had to start acting different. I had to physically, if I want to drink, I needed to get out of that space, that physical space that I was at where I wanted to drink. And for me, it all goes back to the thought process. And if I start thinking the way I used to think, then I start acting the way I used to act, and then I start doing the things I used to start doing. It's
Correct.
Just that simple.
Correct. I'm not advocating for going on, long trips like that, with long party trips with people. But the nice thing about being in recovery a little while is that now you start living your life, and my recovery is the most important thing in my life. But now I can live my life within my recovery. I don't have to live for my recovery. Like I can today. I don't. If there's a band or a party in a bar, I'll go. Mm-hmm. But I don't go to a bar and sit at a bar just to BS with people after work. I don't stop on my way home for a water. I don't do that anymore. Sometimes in early recovery, we have to give up things that used to be heavily associated with drinking, whether it was playing softball or bowling or, like shooting pool, or any of those things that you did that then ended up in the bar. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have to give those up until we're ready. I'm not saying that because let's face it, the whole world didn't quit drinking because we did.
Right.
And they're not going to stop serving alcohol at restaurants or at weddings or at anything else just because Karen doesn't choose to drink it. Mm-hmm. So I have to find a way to exist with it. Right. I can avoid it for the most part, but it's better for me to start from within and to know where I'm at, then I don't get caught off guard. I'm prepared to handle situations. What do they say? You don't, if you go to the barber long enough, you're going to get a haircut.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if you hang out in the barbershop, you will get a haircut. I've gotten a lot of haircuts.
There's another one.
So I stopped going to the barbershop.
There's another one I know that.
Oh, I don't know.
I won't say that one.
I don't want to hear that. Yeah, but you know what? When I think of that, and me early in sobriety, all of a sudden I'm brought back to early sobriety, and I was frustrated because all I heard was a pile of don'ts. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do that. Can't do this. Can't do that. And for me, if you say I can't do something, that's all I want to do. Karen, if you said to me, Glenn, you can't go out and lick the tree trunks out there, I've never licked a tree trunk in my life, but that's all I would want to do, right? So now you're saying, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. So what helped me is I started, instead of all the can'ts, let me outline what I can do and what I should be doing. I should be going to meetings. I should be going to the AA sober bowling night. I should be going to my men's group. I should be doing this. And that helped me instead of a world of can'ts or don'ts or shouldn'ts, right? Now I started saying, let me not focus on the can'ts, but let me focus on what I should be doing. And I started really, that's kind of where I built my sober fairway. And I was like, man, I can do a lot in the sober fairway.
My first sponsor used to say, instead of, because I felt the same way, and I would say, you know what? I can't go here. I can't go there. What can I do? And she started saying, how about if we just don't do this for now? For now. And then eventually, when I could do those things, I didn't really care to.
Right.
Like when I drive past a tavern, because let's face it, I wasn't drinking in high-end establishments.
The Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah, right.
The Signature Room.
I go past the tavern, and I see all the cars, and I see people standing outside having their smoke with their beer in their hand.
See those neon lights.
And I think, wow, what a waste. It's a lovely evening. I'm going to go home and change my clothes and sit on my deck for a little while. And I think, they don't get to do that.
Right.
Like the thought of that is like, ew, why would I want to do that today? I get it. I used to love doing that. I thought that was life. But but today there's things that, it's not that I can't go to a bar if there's a party. Or Big Book tells us, I think it's on page 101, do we have a reason for being at that event or that situation? I would say it's really important to not attend the events or go to the places, whether it be a bar or a concert or a picnic or a family. Family events are huge triggers. So
there's usually a lot of resentments tied, a lot of stress, expectations. So you got to get all that figured out prior to going to that stuff.
So the problem comes in, I think, especially earlier in recovery. People think, well, I have to go. It's my cousin's wedding. I have to go. We don't have to go.
Look at January 6th.
You don't have to go anywhere.
January 6th is the most important thing. I don't have to do anything.
Exactly. And that's important that we teach a newcomer that if you don't feel ready to do it, then don't do it. And the person that whose wedding or party you missed or whatever, first of all, they're probably not going to know that you weren't there. You're not that important. They probably didn't miss you. But if they do, and they take offense to that and don't understand that you weren't ready to be there, that's one of those people that doesn't need to be in our life anymore.
Yeah, or plan. Like, for example, my daughter is getting married in 2022. And, people are all stressed about weddings and right. and I just said that I can probably get through any situation without drinking. I feel very confident of that, and I can get through her wedding. But you know what? Why put the pressure on myself? As soon as I found out she got engaged, you know what the first thing I did? I went to my sponsor. I'm like, dude, we're going to a wedding. And I'm taking my sponsor with me. So I'm building that accountability. I'm building those guardrails. I'm planning a year and a half in advance. I got my sponsor. I know he's coming. I know we're going to sit there at the same table together. And, it's, I've just learned to live life differently and avoid a lot and manage those triggers. And I am going to a concert next year in 2022. I already got tickets. I'm going to see Goo Goo Dolls in Blue October.
Nice.
And I'm not going to drink, and I'm going to have a great time.
Concerts are probably one of my favorite things to do. I love live music. And for a long time, I didn't go to any concerts. Now, I can
go, and I can plan. I can have the right people with me.
Right.
I went to see The Cure, my favorite band, sober as can be, and I loved it.
I don't think about it. I tell you what, I enjoy concerts more now than when I was drinking because I remember them.
I
go through the whole set list.
That's what most of the musicians feel the same way now that they're sober. They're actually enjoying their own shows.
I think Goo Goo Dolls are sober.
Right.
So I'll tell you this, though, Glenn. My daughter got married 3 years ago, and we had the big production, a couple hundred people there. I got up, I went to a meeting, and you know what? It was just Saturday. It was just I started the day like every other Saturday. I went to my home group, and then I went and got my hair and makeup done and went home and put the clothes on and went through the whole day. And it never occurred to me to drink any more than any other day. And, there's been other things in this program that I had 2 siblings pass, both suddenly when I was sober. One I was like 5 years sober, and the other one closer to 20. But never occurred to me to pick up a drink. Now, the first one was a little tougher because I was a little newer, and I called my sponsor and I said, "Oh my God, my sister passed this afternoon," and she was like, "What?" And when I calmed down enough to tell her, I'm like, "I don't know what to do," and she's like, "Go to a meeting. Meet me at 5:30 at this meeting." What? My sister just died. Are you listening? And she's like, "Go to a meeting."
First thing you do is connect with somebody.
Right.
That's what I've learned. First thing I do is connect. And I love that thought, when we go to the wedding, because it's out of town, we're going to have to find a meeting first thing that morning, and I'll go with him. That's
right.
That's great. It's just
how
you plan
day.
things.
It's just another day. You're going to be, well, first of all, you'll just be busy, pictures and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think if I was drinking, I would have had time to drink that day because it was so there was so much going on.
Well, it reminds me of a guy I talked to, at one of the meetings, and he was new. He had a couple of weeks, and I was talking to him after the meeting. He said, "Glenn," he said, "you just don't understand." He goes, "I got my daughter's wedding coming up. You just don't understand, and I don't know how I'm going to go, to my daughter's wedding without drinking, and that toast. We got to have the toast." And I said, "Dude, I get it." I said, "How old's your daughter?"
3.
He goes, "She's 3."
I was guessing. That's funny.
Exactly. And I'm like, it just clicked, man. I'm like, oh, that's how this crap works, I mean, it just messes with your head.
We create this pressure for certain events.
Right.
And weddings and funerals and holidays seem to be like always top 5 of stressful things or job changes. And people, like, we just create this pressure that doesn't need to be there. No. It's just Saturday. It's just Saturday.
Yep.
Or whatever day she's getting married.
Good stuff this morning.
Yeah, and the one last thing that you had mentioned prior to jumping on the air was, keeping booze around the house. Mm-hmm. My wife drinks once every 2 or 3 months, right? And we have this shelf in our pantry. It's got 4 beers on it. It's got a bottle of wine that I don't even know what it is, and it's got like a bottle of Bailey's. We don't have any vodka.
Good call.
Yeah, but it's amazing, first of all, that I know how much is there and what's there. I'm very aware of it, and it still plays with my mind a little bit, right? So if you don't have to have, and I don't have to have it in the house, right? But if you don't have to have it, don't have it, right? Because every time, she used to have 2 beers in the fridge. Every time I went in the fridge, I was reminded, hey, I don't drink. Oh, they used to taste good, and the mental gymnastics, Mm-hmm. So
the
clean house, get it out.
If there's, like, if we entertain, there's alcohol in our house now, not much, but the rule is if we entertain and there's beer in the fridge for company, then after that party, it goes down in the basement. My husband, he doesn't have to change his life because I changed mine.
Right, exactly.
Now, early in recovery, he did. There was no alcohol in our house till I was 10 years sober.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But when we have an event or a dinner party or something, when the company leaves, anything that's been opened goes down the drain. Yeah. And then anything else my husband puts away in the garage, and I don't even know where it is. The only thing I know in the garage is where my car goes. Right. So that's all his, and I don't.
That's awesome.
But don't keep it in the house if you don't need to. And that's another thing. People get worried, like, well, if I have company and if people don't want to come to my house if I'm not serving alcohol, then don't come.
Right.
That's okay.
So my takeaway this morning is the garage actually is for the car, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It is possible to put a car in the garage.
Okay.
It used to be my bar, but no, you know what? With triggers, hey, life goes on. Life happens out there, but it's how we, it's how we're committed. It's what our purpose is, and we plan ourselves around that.
Right. Think and act
100%.
rightly. Right.
Yep.
You're going to think what you think, but just act rightly.
Yep.
Right. Thank you so much, Karen. Great coffee.
Thanks for having me, guys. Good to see you again.
Thanks for jumping in.
All right. Talk to
you soon.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.